Happy Friday. I'm back with another Fridays 45. Today I've got one that is kind of celebrating an anniversary. This particular song hit number one in the UK in 1979 on this date, October 18th. It was released in September. It was number one in 16 countries, but not the US. It only got to number 40 in the US. And it actually was one of the top selling albums in Australia for 27 years until Candle in the Wind by Elton John surpassed it. This song was also the very first video played on MTV, and I am talking about the Buggles' Video Killed the Radio Star. This song has done a lot. It had got an interesting history, being the first video on MTV, and it actually kind of showed how the strength of MTV. There's a story about a record store in Tulsa who didn't sell not one of these albums. They said they had like 15 of these albums in the store, and after this came out on MTV, the store sold out of the albums. So it showed the power of the new media of MTV. It was written by a guy named Trevor Horn, a guy named Jeff Downs, and a guy named Bruce Woolley. Bruce was involved with writing it, but he kind of started another band during all this time, and the other band he started was the Camera Club, and they actually recorded a copy of this on their first album as well, The English Garden. This was put out on The Age of Plastic by the Buggles, and the Buggles, they're from England. They got their name, actually it was Bugs at first, because it was kind of after, it's a term used in music recording. If the equipment's not going right, or there's equipment failure, they call the bugs in the studio. But they kind of played a pun on it and added Buggles to go a pun with the Beatles. So that's how they got their name. So this is printed on Island Records, and Island Records is out of Jamaica, and had a lot to do with introducing reggae to the world. Island Records did. It had a lot of success in the late 70s with Bob Marley. And then in the early 80s, U2 came along and started, this was the U2's label, and they started making money off that. They actually were involved in some movies making. They made the movie Stop Making Sense, which ironically I just saw a couple weeks ago with Jason Acquisto at IMAX, which was unbelievable. So if you ever have a chance to see a music movie in IMAX, go see it. Stop Making Sense I'd seen many times on television, but it was totally different in the IMAX, so I'd highly suggest that. So Island Records is what it's printed on. A couple things I want to talk about is the guys that made this, Trevor Horn and Jeff Downs. These two actually became members of Yes, and after the Buggles kind of broke up, they went to the group Yes, and made an album with Yes. And Trevor Horn actually was involved after he got done on the second album with the Buggles, and after actually Jeff Downs actually went on and wasn't much involved with the second album of the Buggles, because he started the supergroup Asia with another Yes, with Steve Howe from Yes. So they created the supergroup Asia. And actually, from what I understand, Jeff Downs is also part of both groups, Asia and Yes, these days. So that definitely got into the prog rock. But Trevor Horn realized he was a really good producer, and he actually produced Yes's album 90125. And that 90125 is actually the Atco catalog number. That's how they got the name of this album. But Trevor Horn actually helped produce this. He also produced another 45 I'm going to bring in today. Back in the 83, there was a song called Beatbox, and it's by the group Art of Noise. And Trevor Horn also was involved with the production of this. They took kind of like synthesizers and noises and kind of put them into beats. And if you remember this song, it was big on the hip hop charts back in the 80s. And that's what I remember it from. You know, it wasn't maybe played on conventional radio stations, but I definitely remember hearing this, or it was a tape or something like that. But Trevor Horn also was involved with this. What's interesting about the Buggles is they never toured. They never toured under their first album. And they actually did not tour until 2023. It was their first time they toured. So today I'm giving a salute to Video Killed the Radio Star, and what an influence it had on a new media of listening to music. And it's one of my first memories of MTV. I can't particularly say it's the first video I remember. For some reason, the Rolling Stones Start Me Up sticks there, but I remember seeing this video quite a bit on MTV early on, and it made an impression on me. So today's Fridays 45 is Video Killed the Radio Star. My question to you is this. This song was actually put on a soundtrack in the 90s, and I want to know what soundtrack is this on and who sang it. So what movie soundtrack, and it's not the Buggles who sang it, another group sang it. That's my question this week. And if you have never listened to the Camera Club's version, it's actually pretty good. And some critics actually prefer it over this version. But you be the judge. I'll leave the link to the Buggles version below, and I will put in the comments the Camera Club version so you can listen to that as well. Thanks for listening to another Fridays 45. Hope you have a safe weekend, and I'll see you on the flip side.